Good evening and welcome to the program. I'm Buddy Martin. It's Wednesday night. We have a little something different for you tonight. We're going to do a lot of talking about writing of one of the best writers anywhere around here. And we'll be joined by Carlton Reese shortly. He's founder editor of the Ocala, longtime sports writer, good friend, very, very good writer. We get his take on Billy. We heard a rumor today. We're going to share it with you. It's just a rumor. I can't confirm it or even deny it, but we'll talk about it as we do on the show. And then news today from the camp. Somebody showed up today. You want to know about that. And then it's time for Kevin Brockway tonight, one of the better reporters around. He covers a lot of basketball and obviously football. He'll join the program tonight as well. So it's going to be an interesting night. It's time to take a little bit of a breath, for crying out loud. Just always something going on all the time. I love talking about writing, and you know I am a writer, and I look forward to my conversation with the great Carlton Reese. Stay tuned. He's coming up next right here in the Buddy Martin Show.
Old Buddy Martin, call him up and tell him what you're thinking, but be kind because he's doing the best he can.
Better, stronger, faster.
Mama says that alligators are ornery because they got all them teeth but no toothbrush.
Hey, what if the voice calls while you're gone?
Take a message.
Bye!
You ready, champ?
I'm ready for this my whole life.
I'm incapable of small talk. But that's why you love me, right?
Kind of intimidating to be in the presence of so many great athletes.
Evening. Welcome to the program. I'm Buddy Martin. This is the Buddy Martin Show. You see it 4 nights a week, sometimes more, right here on the program. Many different guests. Tonight, our usual crew on Wednesday night, including Allie Peak Wilbur. She's off for an event for her daughter tonight, or one of her daughters. She's got 2 sets of twins. And we've got sitting in tonight in her place. Well, not sitting in. He has his own show, his own credentials. A good friend of mine, a guy who's been writing sports a long time, and one of the most gifted writers I've ever worked with. Really knowledgeable Gator fan. You might have been seeing his stuff lately on Gator Bait. If you haven't been reading Gator Bait, you're missing out. We got some great stuff going on these days. Go to GatorBaitMedia.com and find out about it, and we'll share that with you in a moment. Carlton Reese will come along. I was trying to get this picture up on my. You see that? You can't see it very well. That's my dog. That's my son's dog. It's Sammy. And he went missing today around 3 o'clock in Ocala, in the neighborhood over by Americamp Road and 22nd Avenue. We're hopeful somebody will find him. Sammy's gotten away before, and he's always come back. He's very friendly. He's a little kind of a chihuahua, not really bigger than that, blonde. And he's very dear to our family. And my granddaughter's a nervous wreck about it right now. So if you happen to be in that neighborhood or you know anybody who sees a dog like that, blonde dog, I tried to get the picture up. I couldn't get it to work. Then please, if you would let us know, text me, call me, whatever, and we'll come over and check it out. So, all right, so let's do this. Let's go right to the Orange and Blue Room, where my good friend is standing by. I'm grateful to him to be on the night, and also grateful for his terrific writing he does for a lot of publications. And most lately, he's got an announcement to make, for those of you who haven't heard about it, about a new magazine. A really nice magazine. Not sports. He's a cut above that, by the way. My good friend, Carlton Reese. Good evening, sir, Carlton.
Hey, buddy. It's good to be with you.
Good to be with you. We have a lot of territory to cover tonight. I guess I should get to the breaking news first. That is that that DJ Lagway reported to practice today. Now, what that means and whether it's good or bad, and all that we'll discuss later, but it is remarkable given that last week, we thought we'd seen it last time, or this year at least. And it turns out his injury was not as bad as most of you know, and he's back out there. And I don't know if he'll ever see the field. The smart money is saying, Carlton, he'll probably never see the field. People I know, but hey, stranger things have happened. He's dressed.
Yeah, he was at practice today. That's what I'm told. And
Yeah.
It seems to me like there's no way that he can play Saturday in Texas. But he's a Texas kid. You know how drooling he is to get on the field there. And he's probably twisting the arms of the coaches to get in there more than the other way around. I know Florida is notorious for keeping kids out for cautionary measures. You can go down the line of all the athletes that got hurt, and we never saw them again. Really good athletes, especially in basketball. You remember Keontae Johnson and John Egbunu. We could have gone to Final Fours with those guys, but they were real cautious with them.
Well,
And
Johnson had a concussion, very serious concussion.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. But you're right. I mean, it is. We don't want they come and they go. We don't hardly get to know and they disappear. So, all the best to CJ. He's special. DJ, he wanted to call him CJ. DJ, who is very special. Boy, we saw that last Saturday. To think that game, even without him in there, came down to the final 7 minutes, tied 20 all. Was you'd have been laughable to bring that up, Carlton, last year.
Yeah, well, count me as one of the ones who believe that if DJ doesn't go down, Florida wins that game. I don't think it's a stretch to say that. Now, a dog fan watching this is going to, that's a typical Florida. But the data was in, as far as I saw during that game. Florida was on their way to winning. And when DJ went down, I thought, well, they have no chance. And they were still able to come back and tie the game with 7 minutes left and had a possession to try and tie it at the end. It didn't work out, but to have your third string quarterback in there and you're down all those other players, your top corner, your top wide receiver, your top running back, they're not in the game, and you're down to your third string quarterback, and you got a chance to a possession to tie the game against the number 2 ranked team in the country. I was pretty proud of that, honestly. I know it's there's no moral victories, buddy, but that was I saw a lot of heart. I liked seeing that, and I hope that's what I'm looking for the rest of the year.
Yeah. Well, I'm getting called out by people like Greg Steele says my tease was clickbait, and it's not clickbait. I'm just telling you what I heard, and I don't print things as fact when I think they're maybe just rumors. But it depends on your source. A source I got has a really good source. This is not really anybody connected inside the program that I've got, but he apparently has someone, and he called me today and said, again, what we're hearing, we don't know. Daniel Wells is guessing, wants to know what it is. What I was referring to, I said, what we're hearing about DJ Lagway, what we're hearing about Billy Napier. And frankly, I don't know. I'll be the first to say I do not know. I wrote a long column last week explaining my position on it. I've got a soundbite here. I'll play what I had with Shane Matthews earlier in the week, and just telling you how I feel. And I'll get your take on it. And I have a lot to say about it tonight because in my mind, I've tried to figure this thing out objectively without whether I won't be able to stay or go. That doesn't really matter. It's a good business decision. What is the decision? What should it be? Do you have someone you think is better? Can you afford him? And is he hireable? So those are all questions that have to be asked. The story I was referring to, I'm going to go ahead and say it, is that someone called me who was pretty well connected to somebody else. And again, this is not fact. This is just rumors, I'm going to tell you. And said there's some sentiment that there will be an announcement on Billy this week, okay? This week. And the announcement this person says is that he will stay. He will be here. I don't know that. Zach wants to know what's the soonest that Lagway can play. Well, he can play apparently this week. He's dressed out. The question is, and Carlton and I will get into this, is that a good decision? So, I mean, I think it's a progress. I get accused of talking about moral victories. Look, I try to give progress reports. What I saw in that game was progress. I don't have to go over the whole litany of things I wrote about, but it's pretty simple to say when you can take a team that at that time was considered the best team in the country, forget Oregon, and you can play them like that, and you can lead them at halftime, hold them off in the third quarter, and lose half your roster for crying out loud. I mean, they lost both the starting corners. I mean, all in all, that whole introduce was a mile long, and that they stayed in and hung in there. Now, I mean, they made some mistakes at the end, not the least of which was the blown long snap by Rocco Underwood, etc. But I think they played really. And I said in my piece, and Carlton, you might want to disagree or agree with this. All you can judge a coach by is how well his team played and how prepared they were, and how whether or not the team and players respected his decisions and followed his direction. I thought this is a terrific example of what Billy can do. He made a bunch of mistakes, and he should have to be held accountable for them. In my opinion, right now, someone asked what I wanted to do, what I think. I think that Billy should be given another look, whatever that means. I mean, tell me who you're going to go get. I'll let you, Carlton, say I'm going to give you an unlimited amount of money, put it in your pocket. So go hire a coach from Florida. Well, who do you hire?
That's the $1 million question, buddy. I mean, it's great to say let's get rid of this guy, but you better have a very strong upgrade and be like LSU, the big game hunters when it comes to coaches. There's not a guy out there. I mean, who are you going to get? Lance Leopold going to throw money at him? I mean, they're not even having that great a year at Kansas now. Everyone talks about Lane Kiffin as the guy. I'll be honest with you right now. I know there's probably people watching here that we got to get Lane. Lane's the answer. I don't like the guy. I don't want him being coach at the University of Florida. Maybe that's personal. I just don't think he's a winner. I think he's a flash. I don't think he's a winner. I think Florida needs a guy who is a winner. Urban Meyer came here. He was the guy. He was coming off a 12-0 season. He was a champion. You knew it. I think Lane is something different. I think Lane he's a beauty contestant, but we need someone with brains and beauty. And so before you just pull the plug on Billy, you better have someone in the wings that's coming in. That's a serious upgrade that's going to get everyone excited. I don't know if that guy's there.
Yeah, I mean, all right. I mean, I got so many different opinions going on here. I get the recruiting. It's different today than what it used to be. You can help rebuild the team through the portal. We've seen it. I think he's recruited some good players. Enough? No. They said, well, let's look at what he's done. Well, he hasn't done very well in the wins and losses department. He got himself in a hole. Bad defense, obviously. And the defense has just now learned how to get people off the field. Now, that defensive play against Georgia was really good, and it shows us what it can be when it's functioning. So we know that the brain power is there. We know the talent is there to play with what many people consider the best team in the country.
But why wasn't it there at the beginning of the season? That's
well, I mean, yeah, that's what everyone wants to know. I can't answer that. I don't know. I know what I don't know. That's the $64,000 question.
Yeah.
Again,
we've gone from $1 million questions to 64,000.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the old phrase, as you know.
Yeah.
That was the show, $64,000 question, $64 million question. How's that?
Yeah.
And so I would say here's what I was playing with today. We'll see how this goes down. All right. You're going to give me my choice of coaches who I think I can hire, or should I just go get the best people? Go hire the best people. Say unlimited. Okay. I'm going to look at okay, what is Florida going to make in the next 5 years on the new deal financially? 100 million extra or whatever. All right, you want to play that way? Let's go put it in front of Nick Saban's nose. Say $100 million for you to coach 5 years in Florida. Do I think he'll take it? No, but I'd start there and say, okay, go for the best, and say, all right, then get him now. Who else is available? Urban's not going to come out of retirement, but you want to try him, fine. But the bottom line is your next best person in coaching right now is considered to be Lane Kiffin. Whether you like his style or not, that he is on that list. Any agent you see would have him listed as that guy. So, I mean, Lane's team is not playing really great this year. They're 6-2. They're going to be in the playoffs probably. They got a heck of a quarterback who threw for 550 yards last week and 5 or 6 touchdowns. He may be the best in the league right now. And their defense is pretty good. Is that the model? Is he the guy can lead us? That's what you're saying. Can he lead you to the promised land, Florida? And how much would he cost? I think he's making about $10 million now, $9 to $10 million. He'd be a $12, $13 million coach at least. So let's say you start with Saban and he says no. What's the next person you're going to go to? All right. Is it going to be Lane Kiffin? Well, if he turns you down, where do you go? Do you then go to say, let's go to the best available person out there? And the honest coach is making a little fuss. People are starting to like what he's doing, right? Signetti is really, he's been successful. He's 63 years old. I think he coached Saban for a while, and he's likable. But really, are you going to want a 63-year-old guy who coaches at Indiana? Does that get you excited? And then you say, okay, enough of that stuff. Let's go get a real coach that we think is doing a terrific job, that we feel like he's resourceful and can win anywhere. And I give you, ready for this, Clark Lee from Vanderbilt.
I'm
not recommending it. I'm just saying that's the thinking. If you're in that, there's a process that goes to this.
I see it. I just think that Gator fans are of the DNA that they're tired of the guy who the young up and comer. We've done that,
Great.
and I think they want to make a hire like LSU did. Let's get a guy who's won a championship. Even there aren't any college coaches available out there that have won national championships, but I just it's going to be hard to satisfy this fan base. There are people like me that I don't think Lane Kiffin's a bad coach. I just don't think he's a good. I don't like him. I don't want him representing my team.
I don't care whether you like him or not. The question is, can he win? That's.
But I don't think. Where's the data on how good this guy Lane Kiffin is? Honestly.
Well, I mean, look at his record. Obviously, look how he got
those 500 yards against.
He was head coach in the NFL. Don't forget. Just remember that. All right.
Yeah, that worked out pretty well.
I'm just giving you the information. Look, I'm not sitting here. I'm not campaigning for Lane Kiffin. It's the best available person according to the marketplace.
Yeah,
that's the agents. Look at the money.
That's the problem, in my opinion, with firing Billy Napier. And trust me, 4 weeks ago, I was on this isn't the right guy. We got to find somebody else. Yeah. But that's the key. You got to find someone and plug him in. You know, if Lane Kiffin right now is the best answer, I don't think there's an answer.
Then give me
I
one.
guarantee you there's a ton of Gator fans that disagree with me.
Give me an answer then.
Excuse me?
If Lane Kiffin's not the guy, give me an answer. Who is?
Yeah. I don't have an answer. Maybe Leopold is the guy. I don't know. Dan Lanning is the name that comes up. Kyle Whittingham. Will those guys even want to come to Florida?
Well, I mean, sure. I mean, I don't know. It's going to be. That's why I think the best play for Florida might be, unless the team falls completely apart and loses 80-0 in the next 3 weeks, is to try to coach Billy into staying now, and then I think you go out and you make some replacements on his coaching staff and the weak departments, improve it, give him another year and see, can he do it? Like someone said, Shane said it. He says, we're going to be sitting here next year saying the same thing, are we? So this is my take on it earlier, talking about what to do and whether or not we should give him another chance. And I was on with Shane Matthews, and we talked about it on his show, and I gave him this. This was my 2 cents worth. If I can find this bite, I'll play it, and I want you to react to it. Okay, here we go. About it. I know what you say is true. In the end, you can't overcome your record. And when you look at Billy's record against his rivals, it's awful. He's won 1 time. He still have a chance to win 2. But one of them he should. That will be his second one if he beats FSU. You can't have the kind of record Billy's had. I do think, however, that it changed the perspective for me a little bit when you sit and think about, okay, they could have and should have won that game if he didn't get hurt. I mean, he had on the run. He was playing great. Granted, Georgia came back in the end, but they were there for the picking.
Well, I'm going to play devil's advocate on that.
All right.
Because everybody asked me, and I try to look at it from both sides, because I try to be, even though I'm a Gator, I look at the entire game from both lenses. DJ made 1 throw for a touchdown. Other than that, it wasn't great, buddy. He was struggling. Now, that doesn't mean he couldn't have thrown 3 more touchdowns if he hadn't gotten hurt, but he could have thrown 3 interceptions. So, look, are we closer to Georgia? I think so, but I think every team in the league is closer to Georgia. I think everybody's gotten better. So I don't buy that if DJ plays, we win the game. I think it's possible that we win the game, but if Carson Beck doesn't throw 3 interceptions, we don't have a chance in the game. So I kind of look at it every way possible.
Okay, I understand that. I'm not campaigning for Billy. I'm just saying the facts. The team played a lot better. The mindset was different. The defense was different. Everybody, and they were without any, they had a walking wounded list as long as my arm. I loved how they played in that game. Their mental approach. And I think that Gator fans are like, they had a shot. If I told you it's going to be 20-20 going into the 4th quarter with a chance for Florida to beat Georgia a month ago, you laughed at me. So I don't go for moral victories, but you have progress reports. What I've seen with my own eyes is these young players developing. They're a better football team, but it may be too little too late. I do think DJ is the star of the future. I love how Jaden Ball's playing. The defense is so much better, and they had a good chance to win that game. I like to think they could have and maybe would have won it had he not gotten hurt. All right, that's my take. What's yours?
Well, Shane Matthews knows a lot more than me about what's going on in the field in college football, but I have to respectfully disagree. He said he kind of, DJ only threw 1 ball. Well, he threw a beautiful deep ball, which is what he does. And you know who doesn't throw a beautiful deep ball? Carson Beck. He throws it great to a defender. So to kind of dismiss it as saying, well, if we don't pick Carson Beck 3 times, but we did. And that's who Carson Beck is. And we exposed that. I think it had been exposed before Florida got to him. But that's the differences in the teams. So I think it's very fair to say Florida likely wins that game with DJ in there. Yeah, he wasn't lighting up he wasn't throwing Jackson Dart yardage up there or anything like that. But that's not what he was asked to do against that Georgia defense. He was there to kind of dink and soften them up and then hit them deep. And Georgia bit. He threw the great pass. When Carson Beck had the opportunity with an open receiver, he didn't hit him. So I think I have to disagree with what Shane is saying on that end. I like what you're saying. The team was definitely playing hard how I wanted to see them. I didn't see them playing with that reckless abandonment that they should have had against Miami and Texas A&M. They looked soft, and they're playing with a lot more heart now. I wish they had just started the season like that, buddy. It rankles me. You only get 12 opportunities a year. You need to come out there ready to push a wall over every time. You can't wait till, well, our coach is in trouble. Let's start playing now. I remember when Ron Zook got fired, all the players that week were saying, "Oh, we're really going to show them now how we can play." So, well, you should have done that before to save your coach. So that's where I stand on it, buddy. Shane's a lot smarter than me, though.
Yeah, that's fair. No, I mean, you're having a valid opinion, too. Everybody does. But here's the thing. If it was as simple as getting a team ready to play every week, everybody do it. It's not. The coaches who really know their stuff. It's a psychological buildup point. It's basically getting a team ready to take over and make their move. And their push, it's having that ability, that string of the marionette, pulling the string at just the right time. It's all those things. Coaches have a plan for the whole year in terms of how they're going to do. Every coach ever talked to us, you cannot get them up for 12 Saturdays. You can't do it. And emotion alone is overrated. It's important. There's a difference in just emotion and mental preparedness. And I think what we're talking about was the team wasn't really prepared, especially making those stupid mistakes. They kept making them. That was the most disheartening thing we saw, not getting the right number of players in the field. But the question is, where are we now? Where are we going to go? How are we going to get there? And who's going to lead us? That's the thing. That's what we're looking at now. Say, okay, is what we got now good enough? I don't know. A lot of people are asking questions. We're going to be joined here in a minute by our good friend Kevin from Brockway from the Gainesville Sun. But let me read some things people are saying, and you can go ahead and react to them as well. People are responding. Let's see here. If you bring Napier back next year, there's no guarantee they'll be better. We don't even know what the roster will look like. Well, that's true, but any roster without DJ Lagway is not a good roster.
Yeah, that's a pretty fatuous thing to say. There's no guarantees. Well, no kidding.
Yeah, right.
There's no guarantees if you change them. Let's come up with something a little more profound.
All right, Michael Burton, who's one of our good friends on the show and listens every week. The coach has a contract. Both parties agreed to it. There's a lot of money to buy him out, and there's a total chaos in this league this year anyway. Stay the course. So Michael's for staying the course. Alan Culp, I don't know you, Alan, but thanks for joining the show. Give Napier some credit for going deep right into that Georgia turnover. Very Spurs-esque. Yeah, I had talked to Shane there. That was his favorite thing. When you change a quarterback out and the guy goes out with an injury, bring the next guy in and let him throw it deep. Yeah, that's an old fake pass in the SEC championship game when Danny came out, remember? And they put a backup quarterback in and he threw a touchdown. Okay, you're not writing the check, Michael, and people who are ready to do it. Well, okay, we'll see. Is it a wise investment? I don't know. That's $26 million. And how many more times are we going to do this, Carlton? This is not our first rodeo in firing coaches. We've seen and sometimes you have to. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't think. Anyway, some debate here about the record, how bad it is. No deny. Chris says Napier is 2-12 against ranked teams. 1-10 against rivals. I think it might be 1-9. But anyway, the point is, too, they will have a chance to beat FSU and get one more. Let's see. Yeah, I have to have the players. Yeah, we know that. Let's see. This is from, but did you reboot? If we're okay with giving him another year, even though he's not recruiting well, how many more years do we give him? I don't know. That's the age-old question of any coach. How long can a guy lose? How many games can a guy lose before you fire him? I don't know. It's a gut thing. It's a gut thing. All right, let's do this. Let me jump in real fast. Stand by for Kevin, and I'm going to go and get a little conversation going on here with my friend Jeffrey Meldon about basketball. Carlton, I know you're a basketball fan, and Jeffrey's got a great deal for Gator fans. He's giving away tons of basketball tickets on Meldon Law website, men's and women's. So if you need tickets, I'd suggest you start checking it because he gives away a bunch of stuff. And so I'm going to go in here and see if I can find this bite with Jeffrey I talked to today. We'll play a little of that. We'll come back with Kevin. We'll continue with more right here with Carlton Reese of the Ocala. I got to get him to tell you what the Ocala is. We come back as well. Something kind of special, really neat, and tell you about that. But here's Jeffrey. You talk about tall. This basketball team Todd Golden's got, I mean, they're huge. Look like they're all 8 feet. One almost is 8 feet and pretty good. They're ranked up pretty high in the top 15 or so. Basketball, promising year for Todd Golden, the Gators. It's going to take a little heat off the pain of losing in football. What do you think about this team?
I'm very excited about the team. I'm very excited about the competition in the SEC. I think there's 8 or 9 teams that are ranked in the SEC basketball rankings. And I'm telling you, the Gator basketball team is so much fun to watch, and they've got some great talent this year.
You know, you think about the royalty in sports. We know about the football team and what Spurrier did there and what Urban did. We forget sometimes the basketball team went back to back. That was unbelievable time. Gator fans know what it's like to be champions, and you hope that one day Todd Golden can get it back at that level.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people forget that we went to the Final Four 5 times in a period of 20 years.
Right.
Okay. 94, 2000, 2006, 2007, and the 2014 team, all 4 years they had gone to March Madness. And in 2014, when we played in Dallas, they were favored to be in the finals. So although football has a great tradition, basketball does as well. Yeah. So I think we should be grateful that we've got a coach now who's making things happen.
Very promising, and he looks like he's off to a good start. It's going to be fun to see if we can get over the hump this year. Get back to that Final Four one day. That's what Gator fans want to see, and we all do.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, we're very blessed to live. Those of us that live in North Central Florida, we're really blessed to be able to come. We're going to see some incredible competition this year. All those SEC teams coming in, plus there's non-conference teams like Virginia coming to visit. Mm-hmm. Everybody run out and try to get tickets, because there are tickets available for some of the basketball games. Yeah. And if you can't find tickets, give me a call. We'll figure it out.
There you go. All right, that's a pretty good deal. I tell you, can't find tickets. Call Jeffrey. He gives it away on his website, Meldon Law. And we're going to talk about the Ocala in just a minute. Let's go see if we can find our friend Kevin Brockway, another one of the hardest working men in show business, who's out on about. Hello, Kevin. Say good evening to Carlton.
Good evening, Carlton. And it's good to see everyone. And just got back from a Napier presser, and a little more promising news about DJ Lagway, the fact that they actually practiced a little bit this week, which is interesting. But, and he's listed as questionable on the availability report, but you got to wonder, obviously, with the hamstring, do you try to push something like that because of the fact of, of re-injury, the fear of re-injury, and when you see him carted off the field. But it sounds like it's more of a grade 1 or grade 2 pull, and I think there's going to be definitely a chance you're going to see him on the field before the end of the season for sure. But it seems like he's pushing to play because, obviously he's a Willis, Texas kid, wants to play in his home state. But I think you got to take a little bit of a cautious approach there as well.
Very interesting. And by the way, there are some people, I think Carlton might be one of them, who question the wisdom of putting him in there when he's not at full speed. And I understand how important it is for a kid to be the Gatorade Player of the Year national out of Willis, Texas, and going back to play at the University of Texas in Austin is a big deal. I know he wants to play real bad. Other school of thought is, Kevin, I'll get your take on this, is I've talked to 2 people, or at least close to the program, who said, no way he sees the field. Do you believe that?
Yeah, no, I mean, the way Billy made it sound today, I mean, he made it sound like a possibility. But I'm with you in terms of, I would take a very cautious approach here because, I would want to keep this kid healthy for Ole Miss and FSU for no other reason. Those are your probably two most winnable games on the schedule, and those are your last two. So why not give him a little bit of time to really let him be 100% here rather than, throw him to a game in Texas. He makes the wrong cut, and then he has another setback, So, but we'll see what they do. They certainly, you have Kevin Farmer, the trainers. There's a very good sports science staff there. I think that will make their best judgment in that regard. The training staff and the medical staff there will do right by the kid, and it'll be interesting to see the family as well. What kind of say they have in this.
Carlton, jump on in there if you want. What is the mood, the temperature, and the feeling about Billy's future now around the team, the people that you talk to, Kevin?
I think that there's a feeling again, like it's interesting what I was listening to Carlton before about, the effort and the energy they're playing with. And you can't deny that, that switch has been on since the open week or, maybe even go back to the Mississippi State game. And you wish it was sooner. I will say this, maybe somewhat in their defense in terms of the fact that I think a lot of the tentative look in the Miami and the Texas A&M game had to do with, I think, the defense not really being sure what to do, and a lot of schemes that were maybe too complex, and they kind of dumbed it down during the open week. And I think that's why you saw a team that looked tentative, particularly on the defensive side of the ball against Miami, against Texas A&M, that wasn't making plays. And I think that's why you're seeing this defense play at a different level. But that being said, that's the old chicken and the egg argument. Should they have, gone into the season with a scheme so complex that they played tentative, and certainly that could be a mistake that could be put on the coaching staff as well.
You had a piece today, which I saw about how they got into the two quarterback system and how do you wind up in the situation. Want to talk about that for a second?
Well, it's interesting because I looked around the league and Lane Kiffin is the standard Ole Miss when you look at quarterback depth. He's got Jackson Dart, the best quarterback in the SEC. He's got a backup in Austin Simmons, a 4 or 5-star guy from Pahokee, who, Billy Napier tried to recruit after losing Jaden Rashada. It didn't work out. And he went with Lane. And then Walker Howard, the redshirt sophomore, the transfer from LSU, that was, one of the top dual threat quarterbacks out of Lafayette, Louisiana, who I believe Billy was also in on. But so that's kind of the ideal. And you look at where Texas is and Quinn Ewers and, certainly, Arch Manning. And they've got a freshman, Trey Owens, who's a, U.S. Army All-American. So some of these schools have really stockpiled the depth. And certainly for Florida, you can go back to Jack Miller breaking his thumb. You can go back to Max Brown, the transfer portal. And Billy, I guess, hasn't been able to sell certain quarterbacks to stay. So you're left with Aiden Warner, preferred walk-on, and Clay Millen, who is a scholarship guy. But the fact that Aiden Warner beat him out makes me wonder where was the evaluation process on Clay Millen, and or why couldn't they get someone better, And certainly there are a lot of factors that go into it, maybe NIL, maybe, what have you. But the cupboard was left a little bare beyond DJ Lagway and, Graham Mertz for sure in that Georgia game. And maybe if you had a quarterback that had a little more experience, was a little better, maybe you find a way to win that game.
Carlton, you want to talk about how you feel about not playing him against Texas?
I want to see him play. I want Florida to have a chance. I don't think they have a chance if DJ doesn't play, but I think you got to think about the long-term health of this kid. It seems like all we can rely on these days are, press releases and facts we get or coaches' statements. We can't really – it's hard to dig anymore. So we're just kind of at the mercy on the information we get from the university. I have no idea how the extent of this kid's injury, but if he was missing the rest of that Georgia game, it's a hamstring pull. It's probably not a good idea to send him out there, against the University of Texas on the road. I wouldn't mind seeing him let him sit. And like Kevin said, you got some winnable games coming up. Let him be 100% healthy for those. A couple weeks ago, if you'd have said, well, between Georgia, Texas, LSU, Ole Miss, and Florida State, you win 2 games, people are probably, that's pretty good. So let's make them out Ole Miss and FSU. We almost won the Georgia game, so people got teased a little bit. Think, well, maybe we can beat LSU and beat Ole Miss as well, and maybe give Texas a run. No, I'm not. I'm comfortable with them sitting him Saturday.
You're absolutely right about having to dig, and it's really hard. It's beyond hard. That's why I had so much respect for Kevin. He's a digger. He goes out there every day and digs. He's asking questions, looking under rocks, whatever it takes to be a reporter. And there's only a couple of guys like that out there. You know who they are, Kevin. And so it's really hard to get information of any kind.
Yeah. I think we have a lot of good people on our beat, though. I mean, I think Zach and Paul and those guys and Edgar, and it's a pretty competitive group there.
Four or five people. You know they are. Not and
it's a different era. It's a different era in journalism.
Just really hard to get at it. I know I've been to there. I gave up asking questions. First of all, I couldn't get one in most of the time. And secondly, when I did, I never got the answers I wanted. So I gave up. That's just me. But all right, so back to since you are the digger and the reporter and you're there on top of it, you probably have your finger on the pulse, as you said, along with others like Edgar, whatever, anybody. What is your feeling? And we talked about this before you came on. Is that I heard, I hate to say a rumor, but more a rumor than certainly not fact, but it's an interesting rumor. And maybe it's because I choose to believe it. But someone called me tonight who knows someone close to the program. Again, terrible stories. I grant you it's not a news story. It's just I'm saying what people are talking about. And this person said to me, I've got it on good authority that Florida's going to announce Billy is going to stay this week. Well, we wouldn't know that. He wouldn't know it either, but he threw it out there. I thought, well, that's interesting. I wonder, and I think when you really boil it down and look at what you got, barring a complete collapse by his program the last few weeks, if they play pretty decent, if you reason it out, no matter what you want and don't like, economically, the buyout, the fact that he did get to, not to turn the corner, but at least get to the corner, the defense is better. You don't want to lose. If you lose Billy, you might lose Lagway. There are a lot of reasons why. Where do you come off on that particular philosophy and theory, Kevin?
I mean, if you want to read the tea leaves, he seemed pretty relaxed today with us, and I think he has been the last couple of weeks, actually. He seemed a little more tense in October, and now he just seems like to be a little bit more of a calm about him. So whether he knows or not, I mean, again, this is just speculation. But I could see them possibly doing it for the recruiting class to try to get the recruiting class up, because we know where the recruiting class is right now. Signing day is moved up. It's December 4th. There are some good receivers here and there, but the overall grade of the class is not very good, and they need some momentum. And maybe you just say, hey, look, if we say something now, it will give recruits a reason to come to this program and continue to layer. And look, Billy's done a good, a solid job recruiting, 13th in the country and so forth. It's not top 5 classes. They had the top 3 class last year, and kind of the rug was pulled out on them at the end, whether that was because of NIL or whether it was because of the 5-game losing streak on the season. But I can start to see the talent a little bit. I can start to see it layering a little bit where, they've got some guys and they've got some depth to withstand injuries this year that they didn't have last year. So I think that, you don't want to get embarrassed in any of these last 4 games. I don't think that would be a good look, but I do think that I think he's got a chance. I've thought all along he has a chance, and the other thing too, the other aspect of this too is from everything that we hear, Scott Strickland just really believes in him. And Scott is the guy that's going to have the final call on this from everything that we hear. For as much as people talk about the boosters and the meetings, and it's still the buck still stops with Scott on this, and I think that Scott wants to give him a full recruiting cycle, wants to give him 4 years to see how this will go, and it doesn't want to put itself in a position, especially if you don't have a slam dunk that's completely available out there.
We kind of
buddy.
Yeah, Carl.
Can I say something? Because I'm reading a lot of these the thread about Lane Kiffin this and Lane Kiffin that. This would be a played Florida schedule. I'd like to hear what Kevin's opinion is on that. I mean, Ole Miss, for as good as they are this year, they've got these big wins over Furman, Middle Tennessee, Wake Forest, and Georgia Southern. A mediocre win against Oklahoma. They've lost to Kentucky and LSU. I mean, why is the love there? Is it just the numbers game? I mean, who was the guy that coached Kentucky years ago and all he cared about was how many yards Tim Couch would throw for? That's what this seems like to me.
If you think about it, Carlton, and you make a good point. Listen, FSU is obviously really down this year as a non-conference opponent. So, they're probably worse than Wake Forest this year for sure. But in normal years with Miami, UCF, and FSU, I mean, that's 3 Power 5 conference teams in your 4 non-conference.
Absolutely.
Compared to what you said about Ole Miss. I mean, Scott Strickland loaded up the schedule because he felt like that's what the fans wanted, but there's kind of a yin and yang with that, with the marquee games, especially when you play FSU that's a rival every year. That last year was not down, obviously, and then, you take a thumping there. So, maybe there's a middle ground in that in future scheduling with regard to that, as well. And Billy's had some buzzards luck with the schedule. Think about this, and I mentioned this in my podcast earlier, right? You got Texas instead of Oklahoma, right? Oklahoma's struggling in the SEC. What if you had Oklahoma this year? That's a lot more of a winnable game than Texas. So there's some things that worked against him, and maybe Scott takes that into account, when you go into a 4th year in terms of, everyone knew going in that this was going to be a bear of a schedule, and it's turned out to be the case. And, and maybe that too, the physicality is why a lot of these players are going down as well.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so let me just get this in here now. Tell folks, if you're looking for a good experience when you go get your MRI, you don't hear that very often. For you, if you want to go somewhere where you can custom make your appointment to have it non-working hours for you, you want to have it weekends, nights, you want to be able to go in someplace people are aware that you get claustrophobic, getting inside one of those tubes to get an MRI. These people are. And if you have a problem with insurance, but you pay by cash and card, that's not a problem. And that's Titan MRI, one of our fine sponsors. They want you to have a good experience when you go to have an MRI of some kind. So check them out. Go to titanmri.com and find out how you can have a reasonably good experience going to get your MRI. All right, guys, and I'm going to have a couple of minutes here and with Kevin. What do you expect these next couple of weeks, Kevin? I mean, the roster's so thin. Realistically speaking, how are they ever going to win 2 games?
I'm kind of reminded of the Mr. T prediction in Rocky Payne. That it could be more of that, especially Texas. They got just such a big defensive front. I mean, that's going to be a tough ask. Although, listen, where Florida showed progress, I think in the Georgia game was line of scrimmage. I mean, they got 2 sacks. They only allowed 2 sacks. They played a much better game on the line of scrimmage. And I think Georgia, too, with all the NFL defections, is probably not as good as the line of scrimmage as they've been in the past. But, Florida has held its own in both lines of scrimmage and aren't really too banged up there. I mean, it's more, obviously, the skill positions, the secondary, where they're hurting the most. So, I mean, I think the line's 21.5 still. I think cut, because Texas has been up and down. They turn the ball over a little bit. Their offensive line has been a little bit shaky, but their defensive front is tough, and they stop the run, which, especially if you're playing Aiden Warner at cornerback, that's not good news for the offense because of the fact that obviously, if you're playing Warner, you're going to want to rely on the run game again with Jaden Baugh and Jacoby Jackson, who's been a really nice find at running back. We talked to him tonight, the kid from Pensacola Catholic and the JUCO kid from Mississippi. 78 yards of a touchdown on 12 carries against Georgia, pretty impressive, and has helped really make up for the loss of Montreal Johnson. And then we saw also a report this week, Trayon Webb is done for the year. Montreal's questionable for the game. So you're going to be riding with Jaden Bond, Jacoby Jackson probably in that game against Texas. You know, it'd be nice to establish a run, but that's the one thing Texas does really well, stop the run. So you're going to have to, whoever is quarterback, whether it's Lagway or Aiden Warner, you're going to have to make some throws in that game to be competitive.
All right, Kevin, real quick before I let you go, check out this comment about Rob S. in front of you there. I don't know what basis it's from, but conspiracy theory there. Your comment?
Yeah, I don't think that's the case, but it's we saw him in a pretty significant bandage following that game. That wasn't cramping, and he was on crutches. You know, we saw him on the sideline in Georgia. A lot more than cramping. Rob S. is from Philly, you said?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. All right, we'll talk about hopes here soon. I know you got a lot to talk about there in terms of the team in the second half after having a terrible first half. What, 3 for 15 from the 3-point line, and whatever it was. But
yeah, they you know, I didn't go up there, buddy, but I watched it on TV, and you know, 27-33 from the foul line. They got in the bonus early in the second half.
Yeah,
really did a nice job attacking the basket. And Walter Clayton has 29. At the point guard, a little shaky at times. They got to work on the transition defense a little bit, especially in the first half. They gave up way too many open threes in that game in the first in the first half against USF. But listen, USF was playing on a mission. I don't know if you saw. Obviously, with Amir Abdur-Rahim and the tragedy there. You know who's on USF staff? I did a story and I tracked him down. Is Maurice Spates, former Gator grade on the national championship team and NBA, and we talked, and he said it's obviously a very emotional time, but they're fighting through it, and they're playing the season on a mission for Amir, and but it's nice to see him. He's really grown and matured a lot. Had a very good, successful NBA career, and now he's in the coaching world, following in Billy Donovan, Donnie Jones, all those guys' footsteps who he played for back 15, 20 years ago.
Great stuff. I'm Kevin Brockway. Follow the Gainesville Sun. He comes on with us every now. We appreciate that. Always good stuff, Kevin. Thank you.
Buddy, always a pleasure.
Take care, my friend.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about the Ocala. Now, Carlton, I'm not just saying this, he knows this is how I feel. He's been friends a long time. He's one of the premier writers I know of left of the game. And he's done a lot of different stuff. He doesn't just write sports. He's had an eye for a great story. He and I have had some wonderful discussions about writing. He has a heart for writing like I do. And there aren't many of us left. But Carlton does, to the point where he's got a new project, which is exciting, based on the conviction that people like to read. Carlton, tell them about the Ocala.
Well, I think the English language is turning into a lost art. People like you and me are trying to keep it going. We kind of live in a world now where everything is sound bites and visuals and emojis and things like that. But I'm convinced that there's a significant part of our population that enjoys a well-crafted narrative. And I'm trying to bring that. I've worked for lifestyle magazines, sports magazines, and you name it. And it seems like the industry is all advertorial or calendar oriented, and it's hard to find just honest journalism, integrity, a narrative that's not bought and paid for. It's hard to pick up a local magazine these days and read a story and think, well, the guy who is the subject of the matter is bought and paid for this thing. That's kind of the way it's going. So I've kind of taken that conviction with me to have writing at a very high level about stories that the readers want, not necessarily your advertisers are paying for, and bring that to the table. Let's experiment. Let's bring this back. Let's bring something that's with the reader in mind solely. And that's what the Ocala is. The name is kind of a play on the New Yorker. It's because there's an affluent, educated part of Ocala. I know it's rural community to to most people, but it's home to the World Equestrian Center, a lot of well-heeled horse people and lifestyle people. It's a large, growing population of professionals. I'm trying to tap into it and give people narratives that they want to read that they're not getting. And besides that, and this I know where you want to chime in, buddy, is we're kind of living in an era where newspapers are dead. It's hard to get honest stories and see credible journalism. And I want to try and revive that in any small way I can. And we've got a condensed preview issue out. Our inaugural issue is going to come out in the new year, and I'm real excited about it. I have people working on my staff that are Oxford educated writers. I mean, they're people who know the written word at a very high level, and then there's me. I do some writing too, and I'll announce to the world now, Buddy Martin's going to be a part of this in some venture, and not necessarily sports, whatever's on his mind. I'm always curious what's going on in that noggin of yours, so let's put it on paper.
I'd be glad to serve under you, Carlton, anytime. I love working with you. I love our conversations about writing we have during the week. I love that you're here on the program with me on Wednesday nights. I'm going to kind of preserve this little corner of the world to talk about the written word on Wednesday nights. And then I think people will want some hard information at some point. How do they get their hands on one of those magazines? Because you told me if you had a slogan, it'd be for the people who want to read. Where are the literati in Marion County? You know, I mean, it's,
the local literati. That's what I say. Someone said that's too snobbish. You don't want to do that, but maybe people like snobbish from time to time.
Well, you think about reading for a second. You think, okay, you're right. We're in the quick flash era of 80 characters, now 160, and I use Twitter, or now X, as well for a lot of things for screening. One important thing I wanted to say, and this is probably boring the hell out of everybody who's listening to it. Journalism is not information. Okay. I used to give a speech on this. People talk about journalism and information. I said, journalism can't have information in it. But if journalism was information, then they sell telephone books in a bookstore. That's a lot of information right there. One of my guys I go back with a long way is Al Newhart, the founder of USA Today, who is really responsible for the scoreboard page. I know, I was there when it found it. And he loved information like crazy. He liked writing and reporting, but information. And there's a place for that. Carlton and I don't really too care much about the 3D rosters. We'll read them, but we want to know something about one of the people out there who might have a story to tell, and that's what we're looking for. And tell people, Carlton, if they find they want the magazine, they'd like to be a part of it. Do you have an email address? Do you have anything? Or we'll do it next time if you'd like to. But
well, everything's under construction right now. Like I said, we have our what I call a condensed preview issue, which is everything in that is going to be rolled into our inaugural issue, and we're using that condensed preview issue to kind of draw up advertising dollars and things like that, and we're teasing people with it as well. But if you go look online and you type in theocallan.com, you're going to get a blank page. So hopefully inside of this next month, you're going to see some real meat and how to subscribe. It's going to be a subscription-based magazine, buddy. We're kind of going away from the model. You see a lot of lifestyle magazines that are just kind of stacked 20 high in some restaurant in town or that's free. You can't really target your readers. We're trying to target this to a specific population of people who want this as a keepsake. They'll put it on their coffee table. They'll keep it in their and it's for reading. It's for people who might read the New Yorker or Reader's Digest or things like that. It's honest narratives.
Carlton Reese, one of the very best. Thanks for being on the show tonight. I think Carlton's going to be writing a column for us on Wednesdays. Looking forward to that. Do you have one ready for us this week, tonight?
Yeah, it's I'm calling it the Chinese downhill of college football right now. That's what.
Right. Looking forward to reading. Yeah,
I could read you my lead right now. It's okay.
Go ahead. Read it. Read it.
I tweet things about 30 times before I send it. Everyone begged and pleaded for a national college football playoff, and that has given us a veritable Chinese downhill for the rest of the season. The only thing missing is the Fabio-haired bully rolling the slopes at the expense of those deemed not as cool. Well, the Georgia Bulldogs are still in this thing, so that may not be totally accurate. That kind of tells you where I'm headed with this thing.
Okay, so, well, we're looking forward to it. Basically,
I know you got to go. One point I was looking at the schedule.
Sure,
you could quite literally have Georgia 7-1 and 8 teams tied at 5-3 in the SEC, with realistic outcomes of games, not just ridiculous upsets. I was looking at that today, and I thought this is absolutely nuts.
I saw one scenario somebody wrote where there could be like a 6-way tie for first place in the SEC.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
I love we're going to have you. Carlton, great stuff as always, buddy.
Thank you, buddy. Love being here. Love talking to you.
Tomorrow you'll be writing again for us, Carlton Reese. Thank you, pal.
Thank you.
All right, Carlton Reese. Always good to have Carlton on with us, and we appreciate his participation. Now, let me tell you what I appreciate. I appreciate my friends and the people at WinStar Medical Research. Number one, if for nothing else, they help us get better at medicine in the Ocala-Gainesville area. They bring it to our attention. They are very champions of the clinical trial. This is where much good information comes from. When the companies make the prescriptions, they get data and use it from these trials. WinStar has been doing this a long time. They've got about 800 of these things over the years. You can get involved in it if you'd like. They'd like you to. Go to WinStar.net and find out. They have a variety of topics where they have them on. Everything from measles to mumps to, whatever it might be. They do these clinical trials to see if they can learn more about it and send the information off to the pharmaceutical companies so they can be better prepared to treat us. WinStar has been doing it a long time and doing it well. Try them out. You can receive time and travel if you can qualify for one of their clinical trials. WinStar Medical Research, seeking tomorrow's answers to the health questions of today. Thank you to Carlton Reese and to Kevin Brockway and to others tonight on the program. Thank you for being so loyal to listen to the program every night here. We're on 4 nights a week, and every now and then, sometimes we're over more than that. Don't forget Shane Matthews, Pot Up with Matthews in the morning, and that's going on with Shane, of course, at least once a week as well. And it's going to be an interesting weekend. The Texas Longhorns, here come the Gators. What will happen next? I can't wait to find out. So we will leave it there and say, have a great night. Back tomorrow night with the Orange and Blue Bloods.